got another VCR to look at. This time it's the Panasonic, according to this. Although the one I got here says National. NV-788. So this is something that's very similar to the one we looked at last time, which was NV-777. And I think that there's only one change or addition. There's a supplementary thing. I wonder what it updates. There's different versions of it. Oh, this is specifically about the EN and EZ models. Comparing those between other ones. I think that means that the TV tuner part will be different. A technical information, vertical lock adjustment. Oh yeah, there's holes on the side where you can pull this little bung thing off. A rubber cap. Yeah, this manual's for the E, G, and B versions, which is probably why it's branded Panasonic. Whereas I think the one that I've got here is... Anyway, what I wanted to find was the summary that tells you what's different or good about this machine. But anyway, it says it has many special features. I'm pretty sure the only difference between this and the NV-777 is that this one has got long play. So you can do 8 hours on a 4-hour E240 tape. Double savings in tape costs. Well, that's good. But I think everything else is the same, that it's got the still and slow motion, multi-motion playback and with reverse play. It's front-loading infrared remote control, one-touch recording, insert editing, something we didn't look at on the previous video, that allows you to start the edit at a precise time and then, that's it. And then build up a program from sequentially inserting each bit so that you don't end up with noise bars like you do when you stop a recording and you end up with a blank section of tape between where the erase head is and the video heads. And so it will tell you the tape remaining time when the tape's running. After a while, it will look at the speed, I think, of the reels. It will tell you roughly how much time's left on the tape, which is useful. It seemed to have instructions. I thought we were going to have a look at how the insert edit works. It says summary operating instructions, but then it goes straight into circuit descriptions. It's very confusing. It's like they put the wrong stuff in the book. Anyway, it's a VCR. It's very similar to the previous one, so maybe worth watching that video because I don't know how deep we're going to go into this one. We'll take a look at the front of it. So like before, on the front of the machine, power eject, TV VTR selection. Oh, I think the front panel's not mounted properly because those buttons that very pushed in. So the addition is there's now a long play light. There's also a light that tells you when the camera input is enabled rather than the tuner. And you see down here there's a recording selection switch which you can choose between short play and long play. And then there's the tape select, which between E180, E240, which is what that will determine how it calculates the time remaining, tape time remaining that will show up on that display. We can probably power it up and have a look at this going. Oh, the buttons are a bit rough. VTR mode. LCD display with a light for the counter. Normal transport controls there. The special playback controls. Reverse slow motion with the speed control. Audio dubs to advance. If you push that and that, you get insert editing, which I think you use the tape counter memory, and once it reaches 0, it will cut the recording in. There's the input selection and the slow tracking down there. When you put it on camera input, the channel display goes away and that turns on so that you know the camera input is in there. Well, it's just a video and audio in with a remote pause, and then there's the clock controls there. And also there's a bright dim setting for the screens. I thought there was something to turn that light on and off. I may be thinking of something else. The analog tuner, well, there's no digital tuner, it's just the tuners there. So you use a variable resistor to set the channel that you're tuning, and then it saves it into a memory for each channel. The audio and video output connector, color test signal, the RF in and out. Let's take the top off of this and then we'll try it out and see if it works. And then we'll have a look at the circuits and things that are inside it. Like we found last time with the NV-788, the belts were in very poor condition and it didn't really want to work. I wonder if this one will be any different. Not likely, because why would it be any different? It's old. It is different. There's this thing. The chip with a Dolby logo on it. Some type of chip there. Okay, so there are differences. Just bearing in mind this is still powered up right now. Might be suffering from the RF wires coming unglued. The transformer, it's still in that same kind of style, but this time it's got PCB, like mounting things. Instead of having leads coming out of the transformer, it's got pins, and then there's a small PCB soldered on each end. One of them is probably the AC, so I'm going to not touch that. And then that power supply board that was kind of underneath the chassis in this power distribution, where the AC comes in onto that where there's a fuse, that's here now rather than down below. And just noticed there's another little board up on the side there. That's a surprising number of differences to the other machine, which I thought was going to be more or less identical. So there you go. Always something new to discover. It's a whole different beast. So we'll put this tape husk in it and see what happens. Also notice the loading door there is clear, whereas the other one was quite a solid metal of some sort. Sounds like it's in perfect order. No, there's no take up at all. Oh, actually, I think it's the loading motor slipping still, so it hasn't entered play mode properly. You hear that crunching noise? Yeah, I think that means that it's got like a lumpy wheel on the real motor. Yeah, that's very dodgy. Perhaps we'll take that bit apart and investigate it. Also, yeah, I think the loading motor on the bottom of the mechanism is slipping. So let's take a look in there. So other than those extra boards, it still has a stack of 4 boards in here. But perhaps we'll open them all up and take a look at them and maybe compare them to the ones from the 777. Because look in the bottom. Huh. There's so much more stuff in this machine. Look at that. It looks kind of corroded. A bit strange. Anyway, if I try and get it into play mode, I believe that will be slipping, yes. It doesn't quite get the final bit. But now that it is in play mode, I think it will be okay with the take-up, and we can risk trying to put a... Yeah, there's some take-up there, not very much. But we can try putting in a real tape and see what it does. Just get the video output cable so that we can see if anything comes up on the screen, which of course is tangled around everything again, as per tradition. Okay, try a test tape. See what it does. I think it's the same story as the previous machine, where it was nicer on my screen here, which I can't pick up anymore because I've rearranged all of the workbench significantly, and so now it hangs down from this bracket thing, Now there's all this extra space down here. Guessing there's a sync issue, so the captured input can't actually can't latch onto it. Let's have a look. If we put it into slow motion, yeah, what about reverse play? The thing is, I'm a little bit concerned about is there's noise. I think it might be the head is unhappy about something. So there's the clicking noise from the take-up, but that'll just be the rubber tire thing gone bad. Because it's been sitting in one position for a long time, so it will have like mushed itself in. Whereas, yeah, something, the bearings might be a bit sad in the head. We have ball bearings. But in general, it still works after all this time. So that's something. Wow. Does it still? It sort of works still. Not particularly well, but yeah. Right, let's dig a bit deeper and have a look at some of these boards and see how that compares to the 777 model. We have to take the front off in order to take the other bits off. There's something wrong here because some of those buttons were mushy. Look at that. Yeah, I guess something happened and someone's put a lot of glue in there. So that's why those buttons don't feel very good, and probably why the others are that one there is. Oh yeah, that's also fallen off. Okay, so it's got a bit of like cosmetic problems there. Maybe we can take the motor out from the bottom there and have a look at it to see the state of it. Just get some of these screws out while we're here. The mechanism out. We have to take this off first. Weird, it's like an afterthought. They've stuck more stuff in here. Any space possible is now filled up with more and more stuff. It looks like it slides off. Little bracket thing. The wires come off the audio head there. Is that all of the audio for the whole machine? Ground wires there were coming together. This has been opened a few times, and whoever did it didn't have the right screwdriver, because these screws are very munched out. Someone didn't use a JIS screwdriver, and they munted the screw heads. Always use a JIS screwdriver. Okay, so there's the cassette loading mechanism. Thing to notice is the LCD screen on the front, that little tiny screen there. This is a different arrangement, like with this flex board coming off of it. Actually, yeah, that's different to the other one. Still got this cover here. You can see there it's all scratched because whoever's had a go had to take that off. But again, well, differently now it has a clip of there as well. I don't know if maybe that was just missing from the other one we looked at, or if that's a change. Tire in there is very tired. The problem is that's the one on the motor shaft. So if we have a look in here, thing to do, see there that the shaft on the motor's got this little rubber band like tire thing on it, and it's very bent out of shape, so that makes the take up very rough, and that's why it was making irritating rattling noises when the tape was running, because it's bumping around on that. Yeah, not good. So you need to replace the motor, or at least the little wheel thing on the shaft, but I don't know if you can get that separately. Interesting that that audio stuff been moved to there. Quite dark in that area. It's got hot. That's the servo board, but parts of it have been offloaded onto this sideboard. Because before, we remember there were heat sinks and things up on here with other motor drivers, but now it's just that one there, and instead it's over here. How is that attached? There's one screw. There's just one screw holding that in. Servo circuit. Diode arrays there. It goes off to the head motor, presumably? The head motor. The head motor is the one that's in charge, right? The one that drives that. Look, it's probably not that one. The capstan motor. Now, this board here. Wow, that has more stuff on it as well. Look how dusty it is. You can't see it. Here you go. Look at that. Super dusty. And that also has a sub board on it. So that means the audio section's not on this anymore. I wonder if they improved, maybe the video circuits needed to be improved, and so because of that they needed more space and moved the audio part off of this board. Does the long play need more circuits? Maybe that's what it was, or what it is. Finally, the board in there, which is the system control stuff, that looks pretty much the same as before. That's a good square supercapacitor thing on it. Now, oh, look at that. One of these things fell out again. Ah, to hold up this middle plate thing at the right height. Yeah, I reckon that's what that is. Remember that on the previous video this middle sleeve thing fell out and I had no idea what it was. It seemed to fit perfectly over that, but that's definitely not where it goes. But yeah, I think it's there to space that plate off. Interesting. Thing to investigate is what is this board at the bottom? If it wasn't in the other machine, I'm just gonna get this stuff to lay flat nicely. Timer board's in the way now. So there's one new thing that we didn't see in the previous machine is, what is this? It looks like that's the head amp stuff from the video head, which was, that's right. Yeah, on this bottom board on the 777, there were two metal can things, one for the audio and one for the video like RF input. And I guess that's moved to here now. Let's look at that. Got a bunch of shielded cables there coming from presumably from the video head. So that clip there, which is preventing all of this from lifting up because it's tying down all the cables. Get fingers in there to lift it out. I'm trying a different audio processing today for my microphone because there's all those popping noises all the time, which are really annoying. And I did some research and I found that there's a different version of NVIDIA Broadcast that you can use, which can be run from directly inside OBS. So that's what we're using now. But that is possibly not going to fix the popping of the audio problem. But I have some tips from Reddit is that you need to load the graphics card to some degree and then the popping will stop because the graphics card goes into an idle state. And for some reason then the audio processing that it runs on the graphics card is glitching. So they just said load a game in the background and have that running and then the audio will be fine. So if they're still popping today, which I'll have to check in the edit, then that's what I'm going to do next time. Run some stuff in the background to load the graphics card down and then hopefully that will get rid of the popping because it's been really annoying. I thought it was like a hardware thing, but as far as I can tell it's not. Wiggled everything around. Definitely no hardware issue. Why are the wires on this thing not long enough? Some here, I think. All the cable ties have gone really brittle on this and they just crack easily when you try and cut them. Yeah, this thing must run hot. I wonder if that's the reason why they put in some subboards, was to like distribute the places where heat is generated. Okay. It's so hard to get out. Doing it the wrong way. Maybe it's supposed to turn that way. I'm gonna undo this for that though, because it's got soldered on grounding straps, the ring terminal only at one end. Yeah, so they've offboarded, well, some of the power supply stuff, which I think was on that bottom board originally, that was at the fuses, is now here. Interesting low profile but quite fat electrolytics. And then the main video head amp thing and some of the other processing is now done here instead of on this board. So there must be a whole bunch of new stuff on here. Or maybe this is a different variant. Maybe this could be populated for the NTSC version. Something else like that. Stuff in there. Heaps and heaps of dust. Been in a very dusty place. That wire there that comes off this little extra, maybe it is this one. I think it is. It's the capstan motor that's on this little subboard, I think, because these two connectors here seem to match up in wire color to these two connectors here. So I think that's what it is. Yeah, it pulls it. So yes, so that little subboard was for driving this motor here. How many shielded cables are coming off the head? The video head. That seems like a lot more than usual. Is there something special about this video head? We pull it out and have a look at it. It did feel quite ruined when it was spinning up. Like the bearings of it are very sad for some reason. Probably very sad because it's many years old. And it probably hasn't been spinning for many years. Alright, let's see if we can get that out without destroying it too much. It's around there to get to where all those wires are. I mentioned but we didn't look at in the previous video was the little heater on the head drum. Said it was a PTC thing, but we didn't actually see it. It's going to have to come another way. Interestingly, the tuner there's a nylon plastic screw, and then there's an insulator in there, so that this metalwork from the tuner does not get connected to the rest of the chassis, but it's still held secure. Plastic screws, quite interesting. It's got more heads than normal. Plug into this little covered thing here. Come off. It's a bit dusty in there. Plug it without ruining it. Looks like this is the hi-fi audio version. But then if that was the case, it's got the extra heads for long play, hasn't it? That's what it is. Okay, well that all makes sense now. Why won't that come out? PTC thing to keep the head slightly warm. So that condensation, to prevent condensation from forming on the head. Wow, that plug is so hard to undo. It's pretty worn. Sound particularly healthy. It's a bit rough. Yeah, well there you go. That's why it's got so many more wires and so many extra boards and things. It's because it's got long play. So getting the additional circuitry to make that work necessitated moving moving various circuits off of boards and onto subboards, which they then packed into any place they could find. Pretty interesting. Look at the power transformer as well. Since we're here, the important thing is that we get to document it and see this exciting stuff, preserve the history of how things used to be made. Years ago when you used to repair equipment rather than just throwing it away. It's going to be all these wires are tied down so much that can't get the modulator. It makes the RF signal to tune into your TV. It's a standalone unit, so you put like 9 volts or so on there, and it's just a video and an audio input, and that's it. And then the RF comes out pretty good. Useful, I guess. Well, they were useful when that used to be something that you wanted to do, but now TVs have AV inputs, so you don't have to worry about that anymore. So the transformer in here is similar form factor to the other one that we looked at in the 777, but it's been perhaps a bit more refined, and now it has pins, and then there's little subboards on there that then solder the wires onto the pins. And the casing, look at that, it's all been squashed over. So it goes the whole way down now rather than just being glued on the top and then all squished over. Keep it all nice and tightly packaged, whatever that means. Comprehensive look inside the National NV-788 VCR with many exciting features, including long play, which seems to have caused quite a lot of redesign to be incorporated compared to the NV-777, which has all of the same features but no long play. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.